Good morning, Bucknuts. It is Thursday, May 4th, 2017. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. If it's Thursday, that can mean only one thing. The lovely and talented Steve Wiltfong, Director of Recruiting for 24/7 Sports, has graced us with his presence. Steve, what's the smoothie count looking like?
Well, we had a little confusion here. I grabbed the wrong smoothie, started drinking the one that my wife had already put back in the refrigerator, so I'm with a little less smoothie today, but nonetheless still feel great. How's everything going, man? It's pouring. I think it's going to rain like 5 straight days here too, by the way.
I was actually in Indiana for the past weekend at a hoops tournament for my eldest, and it rained like an SOB the whole time, which sucked. What doesn't suck? Ohio State recruiting. That's called a segue in the business, people. Steve was at the New York Jets training facility in Florham Park, New Jersey this past weekend for the opening regional event. And because Ohio State is what it is, 2 of the primo prospects there were, of course, targets of Ohio State. We're going to talk about them primarily and then get to some other guys on the list. The first, the tight end that has risen to the top of their board for this class, Jeremy Ruckert. What did he look like in person? What did you think of him as a player? What would you like to talk to? All the good stuff.
6'5", 235, as complete a tight end as you're going to find in the country. 24/7 Sports had him ranked as the nation's #1 tight end going into the event. Feel very good about that coming out of the event. You know, he's a plus athlete at the position, tested well, moves well through drills, has outstanding hands, showed the ability to make one-handed grabs during routes on the air, was a matchup problem during one-on-ones, just absolutely obliterated linebackers during one-on-one blocking drills, and very confident, hard-nosed, high-motor player. I continue to like Ohio State here. Michigan, probably the main competition. Wisconsin and Notre Dame rounding out the top 4. Decision expected this summer. If I was a betting man, and I am a betting man, but I don't bet on recruits, but I'll be betting on the Kentucky Derby this weekend, I would bet that Jeremy Ruckert's going to commit to the Buckeyes at Friday Night Lights.
You spoke to him?
Oh, yeah.
Does he have a New York accent?
I don't know. I mean, he's got a Jersey flavor to him.
I like it. Bring a little tough East Coast action in here. You talked about him being, tight end has turned into one of those positions now. It's almost one or the other. The guys are the inline blockers or the guys who can split out. The vibe I'm getting on Ruckert is almost like the classic tight end who could do a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to be a guy that'll be a matchup nightmare for the opposition when he's on the field. Who do you put him on? Who do you check him with? He'll be able to block, do all the little things you need to win a football game. Perhaps be the guy that makes the big play to help you win a football game. I mean, he's been at the top of Ohio State's board for the entire process, and it's a really good tight end year. And there were some really good tight ends at that event, but in my opinion, Jeremy Ruckert's the best tight end in the country.
I'd love to hear it. Another player who is thought by many to be the best player in his position, defensive end Micah Parsons, obviously been a big name, especially since he decommitted from Penn State, the Harrisburg native. What did you think of him at the Jets facility? I'm sure you've seen him before. If you haven't, did he pass the eye test? What did you think of him, et cetera?
Yeah, I've seen Micah before. Saw him at this event last year. He's one of the more explosive pass rushers in the country. Worked out at outside linebacker. I think he probably best projects as an outside backer in a 34, but certainly can play in a multitude of defenses. But he was able to cover, play in space. He's another athletic player, high motor guy, very explosive off the edge, a tough physical kid. He was the best pass rusher at this event. He was he was the alpha dog for 24/7 Sports from the event at an event where there were several elite recruits. I mean, he was the guy that had the best performance. Him and Ruckert were basically flawless on Sunday when they checked every box for what you're looking for in a camp setting.
In terms of his Ohio State interest, I think there was a vibe that once he decommitted from Penn State, you saw this rush on crystal balls.
Well, of course, I was not one that rushed. I'm not saying they're wrong because I could easily see him at Ohio State, and the tea leaves say Ohio State. I didn't jump from Penn State. Penn State's still in it. I think it still ultimately comes down to those two talking to the family. I don't think he goes far from home, but we'll see what happens with Alabama, Florida State, and Georgia, and programs like that. But I think he decommitted from Penn State, and we talked about this last week, because he was taking so many visits. I think Micah and his family and James Franklin and the Penn State staff decided that, look, why don't you just go through the process, and they're going to continue to recruit the hell out of him. Ohio State always has recruited the hell out of him. Yeah, my gut right now would say Ohio State, but I think a lot of people there were just reading the tea leaves and making the jump.
I think a lot of people felt it was like a domino effect, and there was like an impending announcement, and anyone who kind of followed it said, we're going to be in for a little bit of the long haul here.
I wouldn't be surprised if it went to an all-star game or signing day.
Very interesting. Speaking of two other interesting guys that maybe not sitting as high on the board for the Buckeyes that were at the event, TJ Mustipher, and is it Jahan Dotson? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, those are, yep. Receiver Jahan Dotson out of the Petty School where Dan Rubin, among others, were produced. But
I'm not on the Wikipedia page. If you look under notable alumni, it's notable that I'm missing. But go ahead.
Bullshit, Dan. But anyway, I think PJ Mustipher can play anywhere. Larry Johnson's made an impression on PJ. He's also a good wrestler, a good basketball player. The line is long at the end, the Ohio State end. PJ Mustipher's one of those guys that's kind of standing near the line as he also considers Tennessee, Penn State, and Notre Dame. One source told me Tennessee leads. I think that if Ohio State pushed here, there's some confidence around the program in Columbus that they could land PJ Mustipher. Jahan Dotson has Ohio State in his top three with Michigan and Penn State. My crystal ball is on Penn State right now for Jahan, coming off his Nittany Lions spring game visit. He was at Ohio State earlier this spring. He's another where Ohio State, I could see Jahan deciding sometime later this month. Ohio State's going to have to make a decision on if they have a spot for him or not. And if they do, I think they could get him. So we'll see what happens.
Should I make a call?
Yeah, absolutely. Make the call. But I don't think Ohio State's rushing to make any decision until Jahan's ready to make his decision.
Was there anyone else there that you think, either short-term or long-term, could be on the Buckeyes' radar?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a defensive end from Blairstown up there in New Jersey named Jason Owen.
Our arch rival, Blair Academy. Is that where he's from?
Yeah, that is. Oh. And I didn't know much of. I may change your mind here in a second, Daniel. But Jason O is a guy that I didn't know much about, and I don't think many major programs knew much about until recently. He was a guy that has played football for just 1 year. 6'5", 235 pounds, a DN/tight end, ran 4.66 on the laser in New Jersey. So for his size, he's one of the fastest young men in America. I know Ohio State's looking at him. There's several schools. Penn State was the first major program to jump in on him last week. And I think that as this evaluation period continues, you're going to see major programs go out of their way because it's not near all the powerhouse Jersey programs. You're going to see programs go out of their way to go check him out, and he's worth it. He's a guy that I could see ultimately ending up in our top 247. He won the handshake award at the Jersey Camp, Dan. I mean, I shake a lot of hands. that young man about crushed my hand. And he's got some good offers, Georgia Tech, Penn State. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw, Michigan and Notre Dame and Ohio State in the Midwest power to get in there and take their swing at him. I thought he was a terrific prospect and a guy that I'm stock up on after seeing him at the event. And I think college programs, as they go take a look at him and see him work out, will feel the same way.
Well, just so you know, the Petty Blair rivalry it's not Ohio State, Michigan, but it's close, so this guy's going to have to prove it to me. But anyway, we appreciate Steve stopping by. Another power pack.
Guys,
info.
We got to talk Derby. We got to talk Derby real quick, Daniel.
Who's the pick?
Well, do you get into it?
I like to go into the pool and have a few mint juleps.
Right. So
but I'm no horse guy.
I mean, I'm not a horse guy either. I didn't know who any of these horses were until this week, but I just like being in the atmosphere of what the most relevant sports storyline is of the weekend. And I love the Derby. Always Dreaming, McCracken. Those guys are 5-1. Irish
Kraken
6-1. So, I assume many of the Bucknuts Morning 5 listeners will be tuned into it's really just, the race is like, I mean, it's short. It's exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, that actually almost speaks to the attention span of the millennials and the hipsters these days, So
and the BM5.
I'm watching. Well, I mean, and the real men it speaks to as well. I'm just saying, like the Kentucky Derby should touch all people. But I look forward to watching it with my 2-year-old. I've been building it up all week, telling him we're going to watch a horse race, and I know that it fits his attention span as well. That he'll be able to watch it from start to finish and not get distracted. So we're fired up to watch this Wiltfong house.
Always good to teach sports gambling to the next generation. We appreciate Mr. Wiltfong stopping by. Have a great one, Bucknutters.
Have a good one, guys.